No, I'm good.
And Court, would you like to update us on Mako?
Yeah, if that's all right. Mako was in an excellent meeting, went to a lot of different sessions, but I want to talk about a couple. First, also, just real quick, I was able to talk to Lisa Smith from the Public Service Commission, and they're in the same place. They're excited. They want to talk to us about our upcoming meeting in February, if I remember correctly. So there's the open communication with that. So that was exciting. And also I got to talk to Pat from, I think you call it MIMSB, Maryland Institute for Emergency Medical Services Systems. The county, MIMSB is very in support of our Medicaid, trying to get the Medicaid reimbursement going up. So that's exciting. A lot of the rural counties are kind of watching us, what we're going to be doing, and we have a lot of support for that. But the big elephant in the room, of course, the entire weekend was the Kerwin Commission. The finance people are recommending that we, because of the Kerwin Commission and this long expansion, that we increase our reserves because it's going to cost a lot of money. Some of the things that are being proposed right now for the increase of funding for Kerwin is an increase of tax over, income tax, if you make over $535,000. There's a couple people of the delegates that were there that are 100% opposed to that, because when they did that, I can't remember the date, but it was over 4 years ago, 30% of the people, when they did the millionaire's tax, 30% of the people making over $1 million a year left the state of Maryland that year and have never returned, so that we actually collected less money. They're looking at a service or an online tax and corporate loopholes, and that's addition to the marijuana and the gaming tax. So there's a lot of things going on with the Kerwin Commission. They also wanted to point out there's a constant thing saying, 85, the majority of state funding goes to local governments. That's a big misnomer, because 85% of that 50% that the state gives to local governments goes to boards of educations. So the actual counties don't get, or the municipalities don't get that state money. Most of it goes to the Board of Eds. And the big thing that they talked about in the Kerwin, and I'm reading it, trying to find more information on it, but if we do not receive the savings or benefits that are associated in the Kerwin, and specifically the 50% savings for special education, that's $1.5 billion estimated in savings in 10 years. If we do not achieve that savings, that additional cost does not get burdened on the state. That's burdened to the counties. So that $1.2 billion increase that the counties are supposed to expect, if we do not get that $1.5 billion in savings, that 1.2 becomes $2.7 billion increase. That's a huge number, and I wanted to make sure that was pointed out. So that's it. Hopefully I didn't take too much time.
Commissioner Kiefer, would you have any comments?
I appreciate that. No comment this week.
We went ahead and proceeded without you in the room knowing we were going to come back, so thank you. With that being completed, reports from county staff. Morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Rachel Brown, HR Director. I'm here requesting an official vote for a recommendation to hire. This is for the Senior Plan Review Floodplain Manager position that's in the Plan Review and Permitting Division. It's a grade 15 step 3 position with an annual salary of $62,650. This is to fill the vacancy for Mark Stransky. It's a full-time budgeted position. We advertised both internally and externally. We had 2 applicants and 2 interviews were conducted. And we recommend Gail Abbott to the position of Senior Plan Review Floodplain Manager. Gail has years of experience as a civil engineer for both public and private sectors. As a current county employee, she has 5+ years in the department, and she maintains her PE certifications for both Maryland and Pennsylvania.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? Second. First and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. 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 Thank you.
Thank you.
Other county staff, please come forward. Introduce yourself. Matter. Anybody else? Seeing no other staff, citizens participation. Seeing none, we'll move on to repair the compactors for the Department of Solid Waste. Dave Mason, please come forward and introduce the matter.
Good morning. Dave Mason with Solid Waste. First, let me apologize because I neglected to change the title of the ARF before I submitted it. Compactors are fine. The money we spend on compactors, they're working great. This is for a motion to approve a lease of a tracked excavator for Department of Solid Waste. We currently have 2 excavators. We just lost one to a blown engine. This is one of the essential pieces of equipment for our operation, used daily. The reason I'm coming for you is because currently there's no funding source for this piece of equipment. So the plan is to trade in the equipment listed there. There's another piece that I could substitute just to fund at least 6 months worth of a lease, where in FY21 we will have money programmed for leasing of equipment. So I'll entertain any questions at this point if you have any.
What's the cost of the equipment versus a lease?
Well, obviously this is like leasing a vehicle. It's cheaper if you could buy it up front, but since we do not have the upfront money, the leasing is our best option. For something like this, we're looking at roughly $10,000 to $12,000 a month. So the equipment trade-in would cover 6 months worth of a lease.
Yeah, it's saying here the monthly lease payment is $7,100 maximum.
Oh, yeah, maximum, sorry. I was thinking of another piece, but yeah.
But that's what I guess I'm trying to figure out is, what's the cost of it, so I can look at a cost comparison. I was like, what's the cost of the equipment versus what's the least of the equipment? Because if it's significantly better benefit to buy it, I would like to look at that.
I mean, you're looking at $300,000 to $400,000, depending on the exact specs, if we bought it outright, I believe.
But you have it budgeted in the next budget cycle?
Lease payments will be budgeted in the next budget cycle.
In the 5 to 10 year projection for solid waste, we did recognize there may be a need for some equipment repair or replacement. And so within that 10-year projection, we did put an estimate for cost related to machinery and equipment in that budget. So that's what Dave is referring to, and approximately a couple $100,000.
So you're just buying time for 6 months is basically what you're doing?
Basically, trading in the equipment now will give us the cushion we need, the money to get a piece of equipment now instead of waiting another 6 months.
I guess the reason why because I know we had I call it surplus or money moved over to capital. That's what I'm sitting here trying to figure out. If we had a little bit of surplus, that's a one-time saving. That's not a reoccurring cost. And depending on what the depreciation versus the lease payment, is it going to be more beneficial to the taxpayer to look at using a surplus for a one-time purchase of equipment, or if it's going to be better to have a long-term lease on this equipment? That's where my concern comes.
Well, yes, it would be better to buy it outright up front. You do save yourself interest, and whatever other fees are associated with a lease. But I don't have that funding right now, so the lease was our best option based with what I have right now. So,
if it's all right with the other commissioner, would you be able to come back next week with a purchase price versus a lease comparison?
yes.
Because that's what I would prefer to look at.
Commissioner, okay, that's very good.
I'm good.
$7,000 a month, that'd buy you a heck of a piece of equipment.
Well, I mean, it buys us or gets us an excavator. Yes.
You said they cost $300,000 to $400,000.
Yeah, I didn't bring that information with me.
0% interest out there somewhere.
Well, like I said, I mean, that's roughly depending on all the options and everything, but I can get you the purchase price and
I
everything.
think we have some direction in it.
What's included with that lease? What would they do? Do they maintain it?
That is an option to add on, but
That 7,000 wouldn't include?
that doesn't include the maintenance, no.
I'm just a little confused. I got one more question, then we
Yes.
can move on. You can lease for 6 months, and then what? See, I'm
Well-
trying to get my head around what Court's saying. Would you buy in 6 months or continue leasing?
No, the lease would be set up for a 5-year lease, but I don't have any funding
so
right
you-
now for
you
the
weren't-
next 6 months.
I was
so-
assuming you could buy something in the next.
Well, and the leases are set up
Well, then
similar
I
to a car,
agree.
you
I
can
agree,
purchase
yeah.
after the lease, the term of the lease, or you can trade it back in, or you can do whatever.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
for something like
gotcha.
an excavator, we would purchase it at the end of the lease.
No, I'd like to
because we
see
could
what
keep it.
court requested too.
Yeah, okay.
Would it be possible, money has been used from our reserve account in the past to loan money to a company? Can we loan money to ourselves out of the reserve account?
All right, let's bring those options forward.
Okay.
All right, next week. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Sarah, response to minimum wage legislation. This clock stop.
Good morning, Commissioners. Sarah Greaves, Chief Financial Officer, here with Rachel Brown, Director of Human Resources. We are here before you for the third time to talk about the minimum wage legislation and the effect that it may have on the county and the county's proposed plan moving forward. So, the plan that the county is going to bring today stems from the basis that stability is a critical and important component of county employment. So long-term sustainability does rely on the flexibility of reserves and conservative spending habits. There are many challenges in front of us that we're not sure of the full impact, such as Kerwin, fire, EMS, and so because of that, the county is going to consider wage changes related to the minimum wage legislation in the most cost-effective manner. On the second page of your ARF, the chart at the top represents the estimated number of employees under the minimum wage by year. So something to understand as you look at this is that those figures that you see do include both regular part-time employees and temporary part-time employees. However, the number of regular part-time employees is much less than temporary. So the majority of those affected by this minimum wage legislation and who effectively make under the minimum wage currently and expected to in the future are primarily the part-time temporary employees. So that is what helped us to drive the solution that we'll be presenting today.
So our proposed recommendation would be to have our part-time regular employees remain on our regular Washington County scale that has an 8% between grades and a 2.5% between steps. In 2022, our regular part-time employees on grade 3 would be moved to grade 4. In 2024, regular part-time employees on grade 4 would move to grade 5. And in 2025, regular part-time employees on grade 5 will move to grade 6. At that point in time, grades below a 6 would be unused on the regular part-time scale, and that would be a part of the entire Washington County scale.
One thing I'd just like to interject that I can see, even if we do have any full-time that are not part-timers, will employ those same methodologies with the grade movement. Okay, so if there is someone who is a full-time employee on a 4, 5, 3, 4, or 5, they will also move with the regular part-timers.
The change would be that we would put our part-time temporary positions on a separate scale. So they would be separated out, and this would be a separate scale with a 4% between grades and a 1.5% between steps. The scale will begin at grade 1, step 1 with the minimum wage. The scale will change each year as the minimum wage increases. The reasoning for a separate scale is to create a separation and differentiation between seasonal positions and year-round county positions that make close to the minimum. The pros of the above solution: all workers under $15 will be addressed in the most cost-effective manner to address this mandate. Congestion will be reduced with the implementation of the new part-time temporary scale. Existing county plan to provide an annual step places current employees at a step 5, while new hires will be at a step 1 between now and full implementation to help with congestion, and there's no reduction in services or positions. The cons of the above solution is that part-time temporary employees will not receive the same grade and step benefits as part-time regular employees, and it does not fully address congestion.
So we've been before you a few times, and we've had several options on the board. This is the option that we have today to see what the commissioners' thoughts and if you're willing to consider this option moving forward, or if you have any concerns.
One question: what is a in the 2025, just so we look out there, what does a grade 6 step 1, what is their
On the regular scale?
regular scale?
So, currently, a grade 6, step 1, will make $14.34. Something that I'll be bringing to you subsequently would be consideration for a 1% COLA per year. This is not related to the minimum wage, which is why I did not bring this up today. I have spoken to you about it before. This past year, we did reduce employee steps from 3.5% down to 2.5%. There were multiple reasons why we did that. One of the reasons was because the county could not afford to provide both a step and a COLA to employees in any one year. This created situations where we were giving a step of 3.5 or a COLA of 3.5. Both options create challenges moving forward because when you give a step and you don't give a COLA, the scale falls out of alignment with peers and our economy. When you give a COLA and you don't give a step, you don't reward employees. So one of the driving factors behind that change was to reduce the step so that we could provide a 2.5% step and a 1% COLA annually. If we do end up providing a 1% COLA annually in 2025, the wage for a grade 6 step 1 would be $15.07.
But the grade 5 would be $17.55.
Grade
looking-
5?
Yeah, I'm just looking grade 5.
Oh, you're looking at the scale that we provided to you?
Correct.
So that is the part-time, is it the part-time temporary
Yeah,
scale
the
for
part-
2025?
Exactly.
Okay.
Because keeping the same thing, you want to make sure a grade 6 is above a grade 5.
Yes, I see what you're saying. Okay, maybe we can take this back and look at it a little bit to kind of get our bearings on that and
'Cause I think this is a great
concept.
concept of having the part-time temporary at a different scale, and then because what we were talking about also is that they don't receive the full benefits. I think it was a little over $9 an hour.
Yes, and so I think too, the employees that we were going to plan to move from grades 3, 4, and 5 into grade 6 would be our regular part-timers, where our temporary seasonal part-timers may be on a different grade and would have a grade of maybe 1, 2, or 3 versus there would be a differentiation from that. And so maybe what we'll need to provide to you is where those positions should be on this new step scale. Okay.
But when you bring that back, maybe I missed something here. I need to know the whole fiscal impact of dollar figures. How
Sure.
much is our budget going to actually?
It will vary, and it may not be completely accurate, but I can give you an estimate because part-timers don't always work the same number of hours per
Yeah, just an
position, but we
estimate.
can give an estimate
Yeah,
for
just
you.
something estimate.
Okay.
That's all I need.
Could you also maybe give me an example, if not today, next time we talk about this is fine. Show me that hypothetical employee making $15.10 an hour. Where are they going to be year by year? Show me that. Does that make sense?
As far as what type of position that would be?
Or what would happen with their wage? As close as you can get to $15 an hour. I understand how our scale works. But, so I know what's going to happen with that part-time employee or that employee that makes under $15 as each year goes by and their wage has to increase. What's going to happen to that employee that right now today is just above that $15 an hour mark? I'd like to see
The progression of that.
progression of what their
Making
wage
the
would be.
assumption that we will have our 2.5% steps annually, even considering the 1% COLA or,
Your best assumption, and I understand that's
Okay.
all it is.
okay.
Commissioner Keener, that's my big concern is that compression, is that person that's making 15 now, where are they going to be in that line 5 years down the road when the person who's making 11 gets to 15?
Yeah.
That is,
I'm concerned about that too. I also realize that's not a problem I created.
yeah, it's understood.
I can say for just hypothetical purposes, if the 1% COLA was instituted annually By the time that this was in full effect, a grade 6 step 1 would start at $15.07, and anyone in that grade 6 step 1 today would be at $16.65. So something just to consider there. Also, I know we are accumulating a list of items to bring back. Something that we would like to see if you had thoughts on would be the implementation of the minimum wage. So we know that the legislation is for January 1 of each calendar year. We run on a fiscal year. So for budgeting purposes and for personnel reasons, we'd like to know what the commissioners, when you would like to implement the minimum wage. So if it's effective January 1, could we implement it the July prior for the entire budget year, or would you rather implement it on January 1?
What's your recommendation? You're the one doing the
What's
books.
the legal
Yeah,
requirement?
Legal requirements, January 1.
We don't have a choice.
Legal
Well, she's saying
requirements,
do it
January
6
1,
months
but I'm
before.
saying 6 months before would be the beginning of our fiscal year. So
Probably
for
make it easier doing it that
budgeting.
way. Well, budgeting and also you're giving mid-year raises then for a couple employees.
That's correct. So currently in our process, we generally make all of our employee changes in at the end of June for the July 1 year. If we waited and implemented it January 1 of each year, it would be a mid-year update required. Those are the differences.
so your preference is,
My personal preference would probably be to do it with our budget cycle and implement it 6 months prior.
Okay with that, gentlemen?
Well, I want the opposite.
Are you guys okay
Right,
with
do
that?
you have direction on that then?
yeah, I'm okay
Yes,
with
I
it.
think we do, and we'll prepare some information to bring back. Yep, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, we have 11 o'clock public hearing scheduled, but we did need to finish one more item in closed session. We should have time, so I'd like to have a motion to go back in.
Motion.
Session.
Motion to go closed session.
Okay, first, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Personal matter.
Personnel matter. Worked out perfect. We got a couple, 3, 4 more minutes. $12:30, isn't it 12:30?
12:30?
30. We'll go to Broad Axe. They always have a very good tradition. Interview, well, he's going to give direction to Rachel and them.
Well, I'll talk to him this afternoon.
We don't, nope, refer to him, let them. All right, 11:58, 2 minutes. Don't see any big crowd here pounding in. We're on air right now. All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. Next on the agenda is a public hearing concerning water and sewage plan amendment, City of Hagerstown, WS-19-003. The purpose of this hearing is to hear public testimony concerning the matter. The procedure is as follows. We will first have staff introduce the matter, after which the hearing will be open for public comment and testimony. Each speaker will be given a maximum of 3 minutes to testify. After everyone who wishes to speak has done so, the hearing will close. The commissioners may then discuss the issue and take any action that they deem appropriate, including adoption or rejection of the proposal, or they may take the issue under advisement and deliberate at a later date. Jill Baker, would you introduce the matter and anyone who is accompanying you?
Morning, Commissioners. Jill Baker, Director of the Department of Planning and Zoning for the county.
Nancy Hosrath, Director of Utilities for the City of Hagerstown.
While this is an application from the city, I feel like kind of doing a joint presentation will give this a little bit of brevity and a little bit better consistency. Essentially, what's happened here is that the City of Hagerstown has submitted an application to the county to amend our water and sewerage plan. The amendments that are included in here today talk about the policies of water and wastewater allocation and how they are effectively distributed throughout the growth area and the city's medium-range growth area boundary. What we're trying to do is the city has recently updated their comprehensive plan. What we're trying to do is integrate that language into the water and sewerage plan to make it consistent so that it's easier for us when the city or the county needs to go through any kind of regulatory obligations or grant processes with the Maryland Department of the Environment, that we have consistent language between all of the documents within the areas serving the urban growth area. You may recall several months ago that we had a meeting, you had a joint meeting with the city mayor and council, and this was one of the topics that they were discussing, water allocations and sewer allocations throughout the urban growth area and the city's designated MRGA. This is the first step in moving forward with that, fixing some of these issues and coming to a consensus on the efficient and effective spending of taxpayer dollars in the future. So that's really what this is about. There will be more information coming forward in the future, but today we're focusing on amendments for including language from the city comprehensive plan. If you wanted to add anything, Nancy?
I would just first like to say thank you, and would just reinforce what Jill indicated. These amendments are to incorporate by reference the city's comprehensive plan and our water and wastewater policy for consistency among the plan. The water and sewer plan, Washington County Water and Sewer Plan, we have to maintain consistency with that on all funding applications to MDE for loan or for grant funds. And as Jill said, this is just the first step in, if you will, getting consistency amongst the plans. City staff and county staff have been consistently working together, and we feel like we have a really good team together, a really good team, and that we're making good progress on some of the issues that have been brought before us. So thank you very much.
Does that complete your introduction?
Yes, sir.
All right. We will now open the hearing for public comment. Anyone wishing to testify from the front row, back row, or any row, please come forward. Give us your name, address, and tell us what you'd like for us to know. Seeing none, do the commissioners have any questions?
I just want to make, for when I was reviewing this, the only things that are changed are what's in red. So it's very minor changes. We've got some shalls to may, some will nots to, concerns. But there's no major change in this. Okay, that's
There's concurrence from the city. I see.
Yes.
that's what okay.
I would just like to thank our county staff and the city staff for working together. I was at an event over the weekend, and your city administrator, Scott, told me how well both our governments were working together in this project. So that's always good to hear outside of a Tuesday.
Okay, do the commissioners have any more questions? If not, the public hearing has now been concluded. Commissioners, comments, thoughts, want to proceed, or?
Are we looking for a motion or
Well,
consensus
it
here?
says here they want a recommended motion, so.
It's really up to you. You can either
Either way.
take it under advisement or you can move to approve the amendments as presented.
So we'd be also approving anything highlighted in red, correct?
And it's lined out.
Yeah, that's just it looks like a language adjustment to me, what I've seen in red.
That's correct.
So,
No major policy
No
changes.
new policies, again, just integrating existing policies.
We could either have a consensus or a motion, is that correct? There we go.
Second.
Have first and second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that concludes our meeting today. I need a motion to adjourn.
motion to
First
adjourn.
and a second, all in favor say aye. Aye. Aye, 5-0. Thank you, everyone.